Neighbor did.
Shh, it's not over yet.
Yeah.
It's not new yet.
Good point.
All right, we are ready. We will call the meeting to order. Jen, would you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Delzer? Commissioner Erickson?
Here.
Commissioner Waldner?
Here.
Commissioner Abraham?
Here.
Mayor Lindsay?
Here. Before you, you have the minutes of the February 10th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, adjustments?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have in front of you tonight's agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances, acknowledgements, or correspondence, and no old business, new business. Authorize mayor to sign letter from the South Dakota Bureau of Administration on the transfer of allocation, and this deals with DSU's WAPA. And so with that, I'm going to ask Jeff Heinemeyer if he would address this.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, good evening. This item that's on the agenda as number one should be combined with the next item.
Number two.
It's also on the agenda. And I'd like to address them together. And probably the second item on the agenda first. That is an actual contract between the city and the Bureau of Administration. And it allows for the city to sell and wheel the power to Dakota State's campus. And I appreciate you adding this or putting this on the agenda and revising it yesterday. I will get into why that, I was asking for that to be done. But first, I'd like to just explain a little bit about the contract and what it includes. It's a very unique contract in that, as you know, the city receives an allocation of federal hydro power from the dams on the Missouri River. And the state of South Dakota also receives an allocation of dam power. And they split that allocation among the different state buildings, campuses, the state complex, and so forth. And how this contract is unusual is that for many, many years, long before my time even, the city and Dakota State were allowed to combine their allocations, basically. And so the city, for instance, gets an allocation of about 10,000 kilowatts a month. Of that 10,000, approximately 1,500 of that is for Dakota State. That amount varies every month, but by and large it's between 1,500 and it's actually between about 1,300, close to 1,600. But anyway, for purposes of that, we'll just say it's 1,500. Cities is about 10,000. So how that benefits both Dakota State and the city, and it's been a very good contract for many years, is that we have a formula that calculates out, or how it benefits the city and Dakota State is that because if Dakota State does not get that 1,500 allocation, because it's included in the city's 10,000, the city still gets the benefit of the full 10,000. So, for instance, if they use 1,000 instead of 1,500, well, the city gets to use that extra 500 in their allocation. And we have a formula that figures out exactly what those savings are. And the city and Dakota State then, in this contract that you have, split those savings, that dollar amount of savings, 50% to us, 50% to them. And so Dakota State sees a big benefit of that, and also due to the fact that then they don't have to pay their on their monthly peak. They only, because WAPA, or Western Area Power Administration and Heartland, they come in, they read the city's meter, and they take the high peak of what the city hit of that 10,000 allocation. And by the way, the city's peak is closer to 19,000. They hit an all-time high peak in January. It's a little over 18,000 in February. So of that, 10,000 comes from WAPA. They read that, they say, okay, January 21st at 7:30 in the morning, the city, you hit your peak. Well, this contract then says that, well, Dakota State, we really don't care what your monthly peak was in January. What we care and what the city has to pay on is what your load was on January 21st at 7:30 in the morning, because that's what we're paying. And so it's a big benefit to Dakota State. So then they monitor, and we have a metering arrangement set up with them where they can monitor the city's load 24/7 and know what the city's load is. And they have been very faithful in watching that load and monitoring it and trying to keep their demand down at the time the city is peaking also. And the other part of this contract then deals with getting the electricity to the campus. And so they have to come over city lines to get it to campus. And so that's called the wheeling fee. And that, I should have stepped back. The old contract expired with the electricity that was used in December. And so starting in January, the electricity comes under the terms of a new contract. And we bill that just about now. Last week, actually, Julie calculated the bill for the January usage. And I approached the state because we have worked with the Bureau of Administration on this over the years. And I approached them in October, and for whatever reasons, we didn't start negotiating until January, the actual terms and what it was gonna be. And so we've come to mutual agreement on the wheeling charge and the terms of the contract. The basic terms of the sale of the electricity has not changed. It's still, they take 50% of the savings, we take 50% of the savings. There is a kind of a, I call it a complicated spreadsheet that actually figures all that out. And we send them the bill, and it deducts the savings. And then we've also adjusted the wheeling charge, because that has not been adjusted since 2003. And so that has been updated also. And that will, in order to do that, I consulted with some power suppliers in the area, and then talked to Pier and figured out how it should be calculated. And surprisingly, how it should be calculated is very close to what Pier is charging. And also, when I say Pier, the only other contract that's like this in South Dakota that WAPA allows is for the city of Madison with the Dakota State Electricity and the city of Pier with the state capitol complex, the whole area around the capitol. It's handled the same way. These are the only two contracts like this. So they are very unusual to do this. For instance, like Brookings, Vermillion, the other Northern, what they're almost like their own city on their own. They get an allocation, they have a contract with Heartland or another one of Heartland's competitors, that they get their electricity, they pay on their monthly peak, and then if they go over that allocation, then they get that power from the supplemental supplier. So it is very unusual to do this. Again, it's been done like this for forever with Dakota State, and it has worked out I believe, very well. Pat Keating at the college has been very cooperative in trying to keep the demand down because it helps them too. So with that, and why this needed to be on tonight was that the other item on the agenda, the first item, is seeking approval of WAPA to do this. What has to happen is the transfer of Dakota State's allocation has to be made to the city in order to do this. And so they are asking jointly the mayor and the city of Pierre and the Bureau of Administration to send the request to the WAPA office, allowing the transfer of allocation. Late Friday, after the agenda was done and sent out, I finalized the terms of the contract with the Bureau of Administration, and they requested that this be added to the agenda because they'd like the contract to go in with that letter to WAPA and have it all done together with the city of Pierce also. The city of Pierre just recently finalized their contract, very similar to ours also. So that's why it got added. I apologize for that. I didn't know that they wanted them sent in together like that.
Well, I'm actually glad it is because, you know, you and I have talked about this, you know, quite a bit, and you've brought me up to speed on it. And I was a little leery of signing the agreement to discontinue this one without having the new agreement, you know, ready to go, so.
Kind
I'm-
of chicken
I'm-
and the egg deal.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they're both together.
Right, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just say that Jeff obviously has been the lead dog in this, and I tip my hat because he has been aware of this contract, and we've talked about it at the commission meeting. But he and I have also talked about the changes and keeping the 50/50 savings and the wheeling charges, and he did a good job of going out and looking at other institutions, different cities that were doing this, and it seemed like Pure kind of got it right, and that was kind of, so it's, I would just say that I'm very happy with what Jeff's work and we've been able to, this contract is a very good contract for the city.
And this is a 4-year and not a 10-year,
Yeah.
so it means that we'll be addressing it again, you know, 4 years from now, and hopefully in that we'll be able to continue it.
Yeah. So you still don't get to retire?
Yeah.
Right. Actually, Julie in the office is gonna send me this every month, so I can recalculate it also. So 4 years, I'm gonna be pretty old.
You just have a 4-wheeler under yourself.
We'll do a remote from your nursing home.
Right, our ADA accessible.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? Okay.
So we'd probably want to authorize the contract first and then the
I'd
allocation.
appreciate that.
Okay, so we'll do number 2 first. Authorize the mayor to sign the agreement with the South Dakota Bureau of Administration for the sale and the wheeling of electricity to Dakota State University.
Also move that.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Then we have authorized the mayor to sign the letter from the South Dakota Bureau of Administration for the transfer of the allocation.
I will move to authorize the mayor to sign the letter from South Dakota Bureau of Administration, transfer of allocation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your work, Jeff.
All right, thank you.
Authorize the mayor to sign the agreement for the sidewalk improvement project with Big Al's Contracting. And Chad, do you want to address this?
Yes, I can. This project, this would be the work that would be accomplished for the assessments that were selected in late 2013 to be accomplished in 2014, and also the work accomplished for any outstanding repairs from the 2013 inspection, the outstanding repairs from landowners who hadn't had an opportunity to do that. This is allowed, new contracts are allowed to be entered into if less than 12 months has expired between the last bid, and it has, less than 12 months has transpired, and Big L Contracting has agreed to use the same prices that he bid last year for this contract. And otherwise, the terms of the contract are identical, except for new completion dates, of course. And just a brief aside there, those completion dates have been moved up just slightly with the same, to correspond with the assessment projects from August 1st to July 15th, to allow a little bit of extra time for this work to be accomplished in 2014. We've had a good working relationship with him. They've been able to perform. Last year, there was some delays, and we've tried to address that, and I have talked to them about that not happening again. And with that, I would recommend that we enter into an agreement with Big Al for the work to be done this year.
And then, I know you and I have discussed in that, sidewalks and that are along the Highway 34 2016 project and that, so that's something in that to keep in mind and visit with him on too when he was here.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that was my only question. I guess, Chad, we had talked about that before, about some of the delays, and
Right.
we need to get 2 contractors or something up here. And so that, thank you for getting a hold of him, just saying, hey, try not to have that again.
Yep, we've,
Just delays it so much.
yeah, and it's less than desirable from everybody's perspective.
Yep.
Ours is, and the landowners most particularly, so.
Correct.
Any further discussion?
Just a question, Mr. Mayor. On the breakdown, Chad, on this sheet, are the big parcels, is that the long runs of sidewalk? Am I assuming that would be if all of it came into play?
That's
I
a
don't
good
know.
question. I didn't get into the particulars of this work tabulation form is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
That's an attachment to the agreement. Basically, it's how we structure the plans. We bid these, in this case, we're not bidding it, we're just entering an agreement.
Right.
But we enter into a contract as if the contractor's doing all the outstanding work.
Yeah.
And so we let them know after that July 15th deadline, formally let them know what landowners have.
This is the maximum amount of work.
This is the maximum,
And then,
correct.
well, I guess maybe I'm answering my own question, but I'm guessing that that's just the unit price for the different breakdowns. Is that right?
It is, yeah, it's all based upon unit prices, and so they're
Okay.
just,
Yeah,
and we
it's all-
put provisions in there to make it very, very clear to them that this work, many times it decreases by 60%,
Sure.
because most of the
Landowners do
landowners
their own.
accomplish the work. Yeah, and I guess further to make the comment too, anything with the quantity and the dollar amount main line at the end, as you can see on that work tabulation form, those are the quantities from the landowners. So those could entirely go away, basically. And you can see those are some of the big ticket items that you're referring to on there. Basically, all the big ticket items.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll move to authorize the mayor to sign the
Okay.
agreement for sidewalk improvement project 2014 with Big Al's Contracting.
Second.
Hey, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Declare as surplus property a case 590 Extend-A-Hoe. Fred, would you address this?
This is our old backhoe. We received our new backhoe Friday afternoon. What I'd like to do is to declare our old 590 2008 as surplus and advertise that for sealed bids as soon as we can. Get this transaction all finished. That's the gist of it.
Okay.
Was that the one in the picture? In the paper?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice that he got a nice send-off. Thanks, Jeff. Kind of like a birthday announcement.
We need to, if you would, please declare a surplus and then appoint appraisers as on your sheet here, please.
Okay, as two separate motions?
Nope, as one motion.
As one
but I
separate
need both
motion,
of them.
okay?
Yep.
Because appraisers are listed for the item.
I'll do it since you're the appraiser.
Okay.
Unless Mike wants to do it.
I can do it too.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to declare as surplus property the case 590 Extend to Hope, and then authorize as appraisers Nick, Commissioner Abraham, and Fred Snodderly, and Tom Mahelke.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Not? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You also have attached bills for approval.
What, before we move on, when will the bids be due on that?
We don't have dates determined at this point. We'll do a notice tomorrow and
Okay.
it'll be published twice, so we don't have dates.
Okay.
Okay?
We have attached bills for approval. Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve the bills.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We also have bills for ratification.
I'll make a motion to ratify the bills.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no other announcements or other business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Today? Yeah. Okay, no.